Have you ever, looked across the street at your neighbor's house
Mm.
and thought, wow, they seem to have it all.
Yeah.
Perfect family, beautiful home, the white picket fence and everything.
Yeah.
But what if that picture-perfect facade
Right.
hid a much darker truth?
Oh, yeah.
That's what we're going to unpack today,
Yeah.
diving deep into a case
Okay.
that really rocked a quiet Georgia town.
Yeah, it's fascinating how often those seemingly idyllic lives,
Right.
can mask something very sinister.
Yeah.
And this case is a prime example of that.
Yeah.
How appearances can be deceiving and the importance of really looking beyond the surface.
Yeah, we're unraveling the story of Jennifer Corbin, a young mother whose life was tragically cut short back in 2004.
Mm-hmm.
Initially, her death was ruled a suicide.
Right.
But as the investigation unfolded, a web of lies and manipulation and a shocking pattern of violence
Wow.
began to emerge.
What's particularly intriguing about this case is this whole concept of similar transaction evidence, which played a really crucial role in uncovering the truth.
Okay.
It's a legal strategy that allows prosecutors
Right.
to introduce evidence of past crimes or wrongdoings
Okay.
that share a striking resemblance to the current case.
So it's like connecting the dots,
Yeah.
right? Looking for similarities in the way the crimes were committed, the motivations behind them, any patterns of the perpetrator's behavior.
It's almost like a fingerprint,
Right.
but instead of physical evidence, it's like a behavioral,
Yeah.
you know?
And in this case, those behavioral fingerprints led investigators
Right.
down a very chilling path, revealing a dark secret.
Mm-hmm.
In the life of Jennifer's seemingly charming husband, Bart Corbin,
Oh, wow.
a successful dentist
Yeah.
with a very sinister side.
Mm-hmm.
So let's rewind a bit and delve into their relationship.
Okay.
On the surface, Jennifer and Bart seem to have the ideal life. A loving marriage, 2 young sons, a beautiful home,
Mhm.
in a close-knit community.
Right.
But as we know, things aren't always as they appear.
That's right. Behind that facade of their seemingly perfect life,
Right.
Bart harbored a dark side characterized by just this volatile temper
Yeah.
and a tendency towards just controlling and abusive behavior.
Wow.
He exerted power over Jennifer,
Yeah.
isolating her from friends and family and really chipping away at her self-esteem.
Oh, that's awful. It's heartbreaking to think about the fear and isolation that she must have felt,
Right.
trapped in a relationship that was slowly but surely becoming her prison.
Exactly.
Did anyone suspect what was happening behind closed doors?
Well, there were subtle signs, there were whispers of Bart's explosive anger,
Yeah.
and Jennifer's kind of withdrawn demeanor.
Yeah.
But, it's often difficult for outsiders to really grasp the extent of the abuse,
Right.
especially when the abuser is so skilled at manipulating perceptions
Right.
and maintaining this public image of normalcy.
It's like they were living a double life,
Yeah,
putting on a happy face for the world while the reality at home was an absolute nightmare.
precisely. And to make matters even more complicated,
Okay.
Bart was engaged in a long-term affair
Oh, jeez.
with his office manager, whose name ironically was also Jennifer Garner.
Wow.
You can't make this up.
The irony is almost too much to bear. It's almost like a twisted joke.
Yeah.
Adding insult to injury for Jennifer Corbin, it just speaks volumes about Bart's blatant disregard for her feelings,
Right.
his complete lack of respect for their marriage.
It's a classic example of the audacity and entitlement
Right.
often displayed by abusers. They
Yeah.
believe they are above the rules,
Right.
entitled to live this double life and manipulate those around them for their own selfish desires.
As Bart grew increasingly distant and abusive, Jennifer sought refuge in a very unexpected place.
Okay.
The online world of gaming.
Really?
She found solace in a popular game called EverQuest,
Interesting.
where she developed a very intense online relationship
Wow.
with another player named Chris.
Chris.
This online connection provided Jennifer with an emotional outlet,
Mm-hmm.
a sense of escape from the turmoil of her marriage.
Right.
It's a common coping mechanism for victims of abuse to seek solace and validation
Yeah.
in alternative spaces, whether it's online communities, support groups, or creative pursuits.
It makes sense.
It's like she was craving that human connection,
Right.
that sense of being seen and understood,
Yeah,
something she was clearly lacking in her real life.
for sure.
But there's a twist to this online relationship, isn't there?
Oh, there is, yeah.
So tell me about that.
It turned out that Chris wasn't who Jennifer thought he was.
Oh,
It was a case of catfishing, a situation where someone creates a fake online persona to deceive others.
oh, wow.
And in this case, Chris was actually a woman named Anita from Missouri.
Oh my goodness, that's a whole other layer of complexity to this already tangled story.
Right.
How did Jennifer react to this revelation?
Initially, she was devastated, feeling betrayed and foolish
Understandably.
for having invested so much emotionally
Yeah.
in this online relationship. And it's a common reaction for victims of catfishing, as the sense of betrayal can be incredibly profound.
It's like having the rug pulled out from under you,
Right?
especially when you poured your heart out to someone who turns out to be a complete fabrication.
Exactly. But what's remarkable
Yeah.
is that Jennifer eventually forgave Anita.
Wow.
They rekindled their online friendship, proving that genuine connection can transcend deception.
That speaks volumes about Jennifer's character.
Right.
Her capacity for forgiveness and understanding.
Exactly.
It's a beautiful testament to her ability to see the good in people, even after experiencing such a profound betrayal.
It also highlights the complex nature of human relationships, demonstrating that
Right.
even in the digital age, genuine emotional connections can form regardless of physical distance or even deception.
Yeah.
It's a reminder that we all crave connection, and sometimes we find it in the most unexpected places,
Yeah.
you know?
But sadly, Jennifer's real-life nightmare was far from over.
Right.
A pivotal incident occurred on Thanksgiving 2004, when Bart discovered a poem that Anita had written for Jennifer.
Oh, no.
This seemingly innocuous discovery triggered a terrifying outburst of violence.
Oh, God.
Bart, consumed by jealousy and rage,
Wow.
physically assaulted Jennifer in their car,
Oh, my God.
right in front of their young sons.
That's awful.
This incident became a turning point for Jennifer,
Mm-hmm.
a stark realization that she could no longer tolerate the abuse,
Right.
and that her life and the lives of her children were in danger.
It's just unimaginable, the trauma of witnessing that kind of violence, especially for young children.
Absolutely.
It's a chilling reminder of the lasting impact
Yeah.
that domestic violence has, not just on the immediate victim,
Right.
but on the entire family.
Yeah, absolutely. Children who witness domestic violence are often deeply affected
Yeah.
by the trauma, and the emotional scars can linger for years. It's a cycle of abuse that can have devastating consequences for generations to come.
Exactly.
This Thanksgiving incident was the breaking point for Jennifer.
Mm.
She finally realized that she had to escape this dangerous situation
Right.
and start a new life, free from Bart's control.
Leaving an abusive relationship is often the most dangerous time for a victim.
Oh, yeah.
Because abusers faced with the loss of control can become even more volatile and unpredictable.
Wow.
And sadly, in Jennifer's case, her decision to seek freedom
Right.
would have tragic consequences.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
So Jennifer decides to leave Bart. What happens next?
On the morning of December 4th, 2004, Jennifer's neighbor, Kelly, heard frantic knocking at her door.
Oh, go.
And it was Jennifer's 7-year-old son, Dalton.
Okay.
His face streaked with tears, just saying, "My daddy shot my mommy."
Oh, my gosh. That's just heartbreaking. A child's innocence shattered by such a horrific event.
Kelly immediately rushed to the Corbin house, finding Jennifer lifeless in her bed, a gunshot wound to the head.
Oh, wow.
The scene appeared to be staged to look like a suicide. The gun resting near her hand, divorce papers scattered on the bed. But a sheriff's deputy was actually en route that very morning to officially serve those papers.
Oh.
Jennifer had never even seen them.
It sounds like a carefully constructed facade.
Right.
A desperate attempt to cover up a crime.
Exactly.
But Dalton's statement, placing his father at the scene,
Right.
must have raised some serious red flags for investigators.
Absolutely.
Right.
Dalton's testimony, coupled with the neighbor's recollection of seeing Bart's truck at the house earlier that morning, completely contradicted his alibi of being out of town.
Oh, wow.
The pieces just weren't fitting together for a suicide scenario.
So the investigation takes a turn,
Yeah.
shifting from suicide to a possible homicide.
Right.
What happens next?
Well, as investigators delved deeper into Dart's past, they uncovered a chilling discovery, a connection to another suspicious death.
Oh, no.
That of his former girlfriend, Dolly Hearn, 15 years prior.
Wait, another suspicious death.
Yeah.
This is starting to feel like a pattern.
Yeah.
Tell me more about Dolly.
Dolly Hearn was a bright, promising dental student. When she met Bart back in 1989, their relationship quickly intensified, but Dolly soon grew wary of Bart's possessive and controlling behavior.
So there were warning signs even back then.
Yeah.
Did anyone notice these red flags in their relationship?
You know, some of Dolly's friends did observe
Booker.
Bart's unusual possessiveness and controlling tendencies.
Yeah.
But, you know, the Awareness and understanding of stalking and domestic violence were not as widespread as they are today.
Right.
It's a tragic reminder that societal awareness and education
Yeah,
play a vital role in recognizing and addressing
absolutely.
these dangerous patterns of behavior.
It's so frustrating to think that maybe if people had the knowledge and resources we have today,
Right.
things might have turned out differently.
Absolutely. Sadly, Dolly's fears about Bart proved to be tragically valid.
Yeah.
A year into their relationship,
Okay.
she decided to break things off.
Oh, okay.
The harassment didn't stop there.
What happened after she broke up with him?
Dolly became the target of a series of very unsettling events.
Oh, no.
Her apartment was vandalized,
Okay.
her car was tampered with, and her beloved cat mysteriously vanished.
Oh, gosh.
She suspected Bart was behind it all,
Right?
but fear and a lack of concrete evidence prevented her from going to the police.
Yeah.
It's a common struggle for victims of stalking and harassment.
Right.
You know, the fear of not being believed,
Mm-hmm.
the feeling of being isolated and helpless.
It's a reminder that we need to create a culture where victims feel empowered to speak up,
Absolutely.
to know that their voices will be heard and taken seriously.
You're absolutely right. Creating a safe and supportive environment for victims to come forward is crucial, is
Yes.
breaking the cycle of abuse and holding perpetrators accountable.
You mentioned earlier that Dolly's death was initially ruled a suicide.
Right.
Given what we now know about Bart, I assume that's being re-examined.
Yes. With the investigation into Jennifer's death shining a spotlight on Bart's past, authorities in Richmond County, where Dolly's death occurred, decided to reopen the case.
I imagine they started seeing some alarming parallels between the two deaths.
Exactly. Both women were found with gunshot wounds to the head,
Wow.
in scenes seemingly staged to appear as suicides.
Right.
However, this time armed with the knowledge of Bart's history of violence and control,
Right.
investigators began meticulously dissecting every detail of Dolly's case.
So what did they find? Did they discover any evidence that could directly link Bart to Dolly's death after all these years?
Initially, there was no physical evidence directly linking Bart to the crime scene.
Okay.
However, as the investigation progressed, they consulted with forensic experts, including a blood spatter analyst who reviewed the original case files.
I'm curious, can you explain a bit more about blood spatter analysis
Yeah.
and why it was so important in this case?
Blood spatter analysis is a forensic science technique that examines the patterns and distribution of bloodstains at a crime scene.
Okay.
By analyzing the size, shape, and trajectory of blood droplets, experts can reconstruct the events that led to the bloodshed,
Right.
providing crucial insights into the nature of the crime and the potential movements of the victim and the assailant.
So what did the blood spatter analysis reveal in Dolly's case?
The analysis revealed that Dolly's body had been moved after death,
Wow.
a detail that had been overlooked in the initial investigation.
Oh, well.
And this crucial piece of information officially changed the classification of Dolly's death from suicide to homicide.
Wow, that's a major development.
Yeah.
But even with this new evidence, did they have enough to connect Bart to Dolly's death after all this time?
It was still a challenging case. They had circumstantial evidence,
Yeah.
witness accounts of Bart's obsessive behavior towards Dolly, and the chilling similarities between her death and Jennifer's.
Yeah.
But what they needed was a concrete link,
Right.
a smoking gun, so to speak, to really solidify their case.
So the investigation continued.
Right.
Did they find the missing link they were so desperately searching for?
They did, and it came from an unexpected source.
Okay.
Bart's longtime friend, Richard Wilson.
Okay.
Remember how investigators were puzzled by the origin of the gun used to kill Jennifer?
Yes.
Well, it turns out that Bart had paid a visit to Richard just days before Jennifer's murder.
This is getting interesting.
Yeah.
What happened during that visit? Did Richard reveal anything incriminating?
At first, Richard remained tight-lipped,
Okay.
claiming he knew nothing about the murder and denying providing Bart with a weapon.
Right.
However, as the investigation progressed
Yeah.
and the pressure mounted, Richard's loyalty to his friend began to crumble.
Okay.
He was subpoenaed to testify under oath,
Mm-hmm.
and the weight of that legal obligation, coupled with the mounting evidence against Bart, proved to be a turning point.
So what did Richard finally admit to?
In a recorded interview with investigators, Richard confessed that Bart had confided in him about the impending divorce and expressed concerns for his safety, claiming he needed extra protection just in case Jennifer or her family became threatening.
Oh, come on. That's such a classic abuser tactic, trying to paint himself as the victim
Right.
and justify his actions.
You're exactly right.
Oh, my goodness.
It's a common manipulation strategy used by abusers
Right.
to deflect blame and garner sympathy.
Yeah.
They often portray themselves as the ones being wronged, twisting the narrative to their advantage.
And what about the gun? Did Richard admit to giving Bart the weapon used to kill Jennifer?
He did. Richard confessed that he gave Bart a .38 special revolver that he had recently acquired,
Okay.
a gun that perfectly matched the one used to kill Jennifer.
Whoa. So not only did they establish a pattern of violent behavior thanks to the similar transaction evidence,
Right.
but now they had a direct link between Bart and the murder weapon.
Right.
That must have been devastating for his defense team.
It was a game changer. The walls were closing in on Bart,
Right.
and he knew it.
So with the weight of evidence mounting against him, did Bart finally crumble and confess?
Facing 2 murder trials and a mountain of evidence, Bart's legal team opted to negotiate a plea deal.
Okay.
He ultimately confessed to both the murders of Jennifer Corbin and Dolly Hearn in exchange for 2 life sentences with the possibility of parole after 15 years.
Wow. That must have been a difficult pill to swallow for the families, knowing that he could potentially walk free one day.
Right.
Did they have a say in this plea deal?
The families of both victims were consulted throughout the entire process, and while it wasn't an easy decision,
Yeah.
they ultimately agreed to the plea deal.
Okay.
It brought a sense of closure, knowing that Bart was finally being held accountable for his actions and
Well,
wouldn't be able to harm anyone else.
I can only imagine the mix of emotions they must have felt.
Right.
Relief, anger, sadness.
Absolutely.
Did they have an opportunity to address Bart directly in court?
They did. During the sentencing hearing, both Jennifer and Dolly's families delivered very powerful victim impact statements.
Expressing the profound grief and devastation that Bart's actions had caused.
It must have taken immense courage to stand face to face with the man who had taken so much from them.
I can't even imagine.
What did they say to him?
They spoke about the irreplaceable void left in their lives.
Yeah.
The shattered dreams, the stolen futures. They spoke about the pain of having their loved ones ripped away from them.
Yeah.
The fear that haunted their days and nights.
It's awful.
Their words were raw, filled with anguish, but also a powerful testament to their resilience and determination to find justice.
Yeah, it's a reminder that even in the face of unspeakable tragedy, the human spirit can endure.
Right.
It's about finding the strength to speak truth to power,
Absolutely.
to honor the memories of those we've lost, and to demand accountability for those who have caused harm.
You've captured it perfectly.
Wow.
Their statements weren't just about personal pain.
Right.
They were a voice for all victims of domestic violence.
Yeah. A call for society to recognize the severity of this issue and to take action to protect those who are vulnerable.
Did Bart show any remorse during his confession or during the victim impact statements? Did he acknowledge the pain he had caused?
Sadly, no. According to those present jury, Bart remained stoic and emotionless throughout the entire proceedings.
Oh.
He admitted to the murders but offered no explanation, no apology, no sign of remorse.
That's chilling. It's almost incomprehensible how someone can commit such horrific acts
I know.
and show absolutely no empathy for the victims and their families.
It's a disturbing reminder that evil often wears a mask of normalcy.
Right.
Bart was, by all outward appearances, a successful, charming, well-respected member of his community.
Right.
But beneath that facade lurked a darkness that ultimately led him to commit these heinous acts.
It makes you wonder what goes on behind closed doors, what secrets people hide,
Right.
and how well we truly know even those closest to us.
It's a sobering thought, isn't it?
It is.
And it really compels us to be more aware, to pay attention to the subtle signs,
Yeah.
and to never dismiss red flags in our own relationships or the relationships of those around us.
So what happened to Jennifer's sons after all of this?
Yeah.
They were so young when their world was shattered.
Thankfully, Jennifer's sister and her husband stepped in and provided a loving and stable home for the boys.
Okay.
They've been surrounded by family and support as they navigate the unimaginable trauma they've endured.
That's a small glimmer of hope in this tragic story.
Yeah.
They've lost so much, but at least they have a loving family to help them heal.
Yeah, for sure.
What about Richard Wilson, the friend who supplied the gun? Did he face any legal repercussions for his role in Jennifer's death?
Ultimately, the district attorney decided not to press charges against Richard.
Really?
It was a controversial decision,
Yeah.
with some arguing that he should have been held accountable for his actions.
I can see both sides of that argument.
Yeah.
On one hand, he did provide the weapon that was used to kill Jennifer. But on the other hand, he did eventually come forward and cooperate with the investigation, which ultimately helped secure Bart's conviction.
It's a complex ethical dilemma.
It is?
It raises questions about the boundaries of friendship,
Yeah.
the weight of loyalty, and the consequences of enabling harmful behavior. There are no easy answers in this situation.
So where is Bart Corbin now? Is he still serving his sentence?
As of today, Bart remains incarcerated serving 2 life sentences.
Okay.
He'll be eligible for parole in a few years.
Okay.
But given the nature of his crimes and his complete lack of remorse, it's uncertain whether he will ever be granted release.
Well, let's hope he stays right where he belongs, behind bars where he can no longer pose a threat to anyone. This deep dive has been a roller coaster of emotions.
It has.
Shock, sadness, anger, and a touch of hope for Jennifer's sons and their future.
Yeah.
What are some of the key takeaways you think our listeners should reflect on?
Well, this case serves as a stark reminder of the devastating impact of domestic violence. It can happen anywhere, to anyone, regardless of social status, income level, or outward appearances.
Right.
It's crucial to remember that abusers are often master manipulators, skilled at hiding their true nature and controlling their victims through fear, isolation, and emotional abuse.
Absolutely. It's also a reminder that we as a society need to do more to support victims of domestic violence.
Oh, for sure.
We need to create a culture where victims feel empowered to speak up,
Right.
where they know they'll be believed and supported, and where they have access to the resources they need to escape dangerous situations and rebuild their lives.
You're absolutely right. We can't just be passive observers.
Right.
We all have a role to play in breaking the cycle of abuse.
Yeah.
Whether it's being a supportive friend, a vigilant neighbor, or an advocate for change in our communities, we can all make a difference.
This case also raises important questions about accountability and the complexities of the criminal justice system.
Right.
How do we balance the need for justice with the possibility of rehabilitation?
Yeah.
How do we ensure that victims' voices are heard and their needs are met throughout the legal process?
These are very complex questions that require careful consideration and ongoing dialogue.
Yeah.
There are no easy answers, but it's important to keep these conversations going and to strive for a system that is fair, compassionate, and truly serves the needs of both victims and society as a whole.
You know, listening to all of this, it's hard not to wonder if anything could have been done to prevent these tragedies.
Yeah.
Were there missed opportunities to intervene? Could something have been done to save Jennifer and Dolly?
That's the question that haunts us in cases like this. Could
Okay.
friends, family, or even law enforcement have recognized the warning signs and intervened earlier?
Yeah.
Could something have been done to change the course of events?
It's a heartbreaking question to ponder, but it also underscores the importance of education,
Right.
awareness, and early intervention. If we can learn to recognize the red flags of abuse, if we can create a culture where victims feel safe to come forward, and if we can provide adequate resources and support for those in need, perhaps we can prevent future tragedies from unfolding.
You've hit the nail on the head.
Wow.
This case is a call to action for all of us.
Yeah.
To be more vigilant, more compassionate, and more proactive in our efforts to address domestic violence.
Yeah.
Let's honor the memories of Jennifer and Dolly by working together to create a world where such tragedies become a thing of the past.
Thank you for joining me on this incredibly emotional deep dive. If any of the topics discussed in today's episode have resonated with you, please visit our website for a list of resources and support organizations. Until next time, stay safe and be well.